Hey, Kaga back again. Today we're gonna talk about Ubisoft's upcoming game X Defiant, which, from what I've heard, is has been denied by the certification process of Xbox and PlayStation. But we'll read into the article and then I'll share my thoughts on it. So let's see. Ubisoft could potentially launch X-Defiant somewhere between the middle of September to the middle of October as it works to obtain certification from PlayStation and Xbox. In a written update, producer Mark Rubin said that Ubisoft started the certification process for X-Defiant on PlayStation and Xbox at the end of July. Ubisoft was targeting a release for the end of August. But with X-Defiant needing more work than expected, it is now looking further into the fall. Ubisoft plans to submit to first-party platforms for certification again in less than 2 weeks. If the game passes, then it can officially be released by middle to late September. Rubin also states that the game will likely receive a conditional pass, meaning that Ubisoft will have to implement a day 1 patch, and X-Defiant is looking at an early to middle October release. Now, first of all, how broken does a game need to be denied by the certification process of PlayStation and Xbox? And of course it's gonna have a day 1 patch. Every game has nowadays a day 1 patch. I don't necessarily view it as bad, but for some games day 1 patch is bad. And X-Defiant seems to be shaping to be one of those games that is gonna be bad and no day 1 patch is gonna fix that bad. Well, let's read on to the article. If we were following the standard rules for game releases, we would have set a date far enough in advance, with enough buffer to have a confident release date. However, like a lot of things with this game, we have not chosen a typical route. Having millions of people play your game long before it's ready is not normal. Not being afraid to show an unfinished game to millions of people, with all its flaws, is not normal. These were real tests, and not just marketing events. So when it comes to when we will release, the real answer is as soon as we can, and we will continue to update you with more information when we have it. Now, it's not that the fact about being afraid and having the millions of people play your game and stuff, is the fact that you are inadequate. You do not possess the ability no more to release games that are not completely broken day 1. From the last few Ubisoft games, I can't name even a single one that had day 1 normal release. Later on, patches, yeah, fixed. But day 1, Ubisoft just does not have the ability no more to create a game that's good. Day 1 patch included. A lot of Ubisoft games, even with the day 1 patch, were still fundamentally broken. It got nothing to do with having fear to show the game with flaws or anything, because if that was the case, you would not put out the shit you did for the past few releases. Now, Rubin later clarified that failing the first sub is normal and pretty much expected by any game, so later this summer window hasn't moved based on not passing the first sub. That window was based on having to go through a second sub. Just trying to be as honest as I can. X-Defiant is a free-to-play first-person shooter game developed by Ubisoft, of course. It has had several beta phases this year, including a closed one in April and open in 1 June. It will launch for PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS. Now, the beta was obviously a disaster. Well, in the sense that it was buggy, but then again, it's a beta. You should expect that. The same with early access games. You can expect that. Now, Ubisoft is garnering its reputation so far that, in my opinion, it's becoming what EA used to be. Well, EA still is kinda the same way, but at least they once in a while release a decent game now. Not without its own issues per se, like the Jedi Survivors. It had bugs, they fixed them. But it's fundamentally a decent game, even to say a good game. Ubisoft nowadays releases a copy-paste version of Assassin's Creed, which is now basically becoming like a sports series where you just reskin it and sell it again. It's just ruining the series. And their over reliance on Assassin's Creed titles is not exactly glamorous. I find it ridiculous. I also agree with people who are like, Ubisoft is the place where innovation goes to die. Yeah, pretty much recently. Instead of having actually decent games, like new unique ideas, it's like, yeah, Assassin's Creed we do. That's how it is. They even canceled their Phoenix Rising sequel in favor of more people for Assassin's Creed games. That's gonna give us a better Assassin's Creed game. Now, I have no faith in Ubisoft that they will deliver a good game with no matter how many people they have. But instead of actually going through the sequels of games that would be unique and interesting, they'd rather dish out extra Assassin's Creeds. It's an Assassin's Creed every year. It's a sports game essentially at this point. Do I mind that there's an Assassin's Creed every year? No, they can be fun. But I also think you should let your game you should develop your game with more evolution, progress in it, with enough variation from the previous game to have the audience engaged, instead of releasing it yearly and it's basically the same as last year with a different skin. Now, I went off there talking about Ubisoft in general instead of Defiant, but it is what it is. And there are also some comments over here that are basically agreeing that Ubisoft just cannot release a working game nowadays, and the fact that how bad the game has to be denied by certification, and that there will probably be a huge day one patch incoming, and people are saying the last decent game they had was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, according to the people in the comments on this article. They had a huge day one patch, but at least it was a functioning game. I played Odyssey, I find it fun, but then again it's just pretty much another Assassin with a different skin set. My thing with Assassin's Creed is I do not like that real world stuff. It should not be there at all. And if you're about to argue with the fact that yeah, it has to be story based, then how about you are there the whole game and at the end of the game you have some small segment that indicates you were in the fucking Animus, instead of being somewhere in, then you're taken out, and then you're in, and then you're taken out, and it interrupts everything. There's another comment that says that PS and Xbox learned from Cyberpunk's failure, and Ubisoft did not. Cyberpunk was a disaster. It even got refunded from PS. And if this is denied by testing and Cyberpunk wasn't, then it's kinda like, how bad is it? is it so unplayable that they're just like, nah, you're not gonna release this shit? And that's basically all for my Ubisoft X Defiant video and a rant at the end, I suppose. But I'll see you guys next time.